My name is Guanxi. I'm a China business coach, trainer, and advisor, but more importantly, I'm an ABC. That's American-born Chinese. Playing basketball and generally being good at basketball enabled me to kind of, I guess it accomplished two things at once. It enabled me to develop this special bond through sports. At the intersection between America and China, I'm concerned about the lack of cultural awareness on both sides. So I started having conversations with my unborn son. I want to try to explain our world in context in order for him to make better sense of his world. And I want him to develop a healthier attitude, mindset, and approach towards anyone from a different culture. When I went to Nanjing to a Chinese state-owned enterprise, Sinopac, and I was on project assignment, the entire sales team loved NBA basketball. Welcome to Season 2 of Generational ABC Podcast, another series of conversations between me and my unborn son, one ABC to another. When I first started going to China in 2004, mainland China, playing golf with my distributors in Shanghai and in Shenzhen was a big part of our friendship, trust, and relationship building. Hey little buddy, it's your father again. I'm in the middle of a run, but I'm in such a great environment here at the park across the street from where we now live in Southern California that I wanted to take this opportunity and record a vlog or a podcast with you. So I'm running, and getting exercise is really important. So when I think about kind of turning points in my life, many of them had to do with sports, athletics, and exercise, because my entire life, growing up in Atlanta, Georgia, I was always involved in sports. And being good at sports or being athletic meant that your father wasn't bullied growing up in the South, even though he was, ethnically Chinese. Because as I was getting older and I started to see some other Chinese kids enter the school system, I could actually recall them being bullied. And I never experienced that because, well, first of all, I was born and raised in Georgia, so I didn't speak English with any foreign accent. But also, I think the main thing is I was good at athletics. I was good at sports. I was faster. I wasn't necessarily stronger because I was smaller, but I could jump higher. I could run faster. I was more coordinated. So all of that worked to my advantage growing up in the South, which was really big into sports. And then, of course, a lot of my turning points had to do with sports. It's like when I injured my hand. I cut tendons in my left hand, cut nerves and tendons, had to go through about a year of rehabilitation. That basically ended whatever prospects or aspirations I had to be a professional baseball player. Okay. And then I can remember, when I started doing business in China, whether it was as a sales engineer or a key account manager or a channel manager or just being a sales director. My background in sports helped me a lot. When I was the key account manager for Motorola, I remember playing basketball and playing tennis with the Motorolans that I needed to require, or that I needed to develop relationships with, to understand their product development roadmap, to understand how we could supply parts or offer solutions to what they needed. And playing basketball and generally being good at basketball enabled me to kind of I guess it accomplished two things at once. It enabled me to develop this special bond through sports, but it also enabled me to kind of almost assume kind of a leadership role, because I was formally coached in most of these sports when I was growing up here in the United States, and I was playing on teams, playing on high school teams and stuff like that. Whereas most of the people in China only started engaging in sports kind of like recreationally, especially if they're older, and they don't really have any idea what the official rules are and how to really play. So it actually took me quite a long period of time to adjust to playing basketball with Chinese people, because in China, at least in that period, and I would say that period would be about 10 years ago, just as basketball was starting to become popular, you know, in the US, basketball is a really physical game. But in China, they call fouls sometimes when you barely touch or don't even touch anybody. And they don't understand, because they've never been formally part of a league or part of a system. They don't formally understand how these rules are called or enforced. Now, that's probably changing a lot now since 10 years ago when I was playing with people my own age. But all of the kids growing up now, there are more formal leagues and coaches and all of that stuff. So that's probably changed a lot. And then when I went to Nanjing, to a Chinese state-owned enterprise, Sinopac, and I was on project assignment, the entire sales team loved NBA basketball. So even though I was getting older at that point and didn't have the stamina, playing basketball with these younger sales guys in China was another great way to develop our Guanxi relationship. And this really goes beyond, the normal drinking and eating. Sports, I think, in any culture and in any country, creates a higher level of a personal bond if you're play sports together. When I first started going to China in 2004, mainland China, playing golf with my distributors in Shanghai and in Shenzhen was a big part of our friendship, trust, and relationship building. I remember back in that period, I had a set of golf clubs that I left in Shenzhen, so my golf clubs would always be there. I left a set in Shanghai, and then I had a set in the US. So golf was always a big part of business when I first started doing business in mainland China. And the fact that I'm now I'm almost 50 years old, I need to really try to extend not only my ability to participate in sports, but also my kind of health and longevity. And a lot of that has to do with you, little buddy, because taking you to sports, playing Little League, basketball, tennis, golf, whatever you like and you enjoy, this is one of the things that I look forward to doing together with you as your father. And even though my father didn't play most of these sports, he also took me to all of these sports. We had a basketball hoop in our backyard back in Atlanta, Georgia, 40 years ago. I remember throwing the baseball with my father. So these are all great memories, and I look forward to developing these memories with you. And I just believe that sports is something that really is culturally agnostic. And if you can develop relationships through sports, whether it's golf or tennis or basketball, or even in China they play a lot of billiards or pool, that's always a great way to do relationship building without drinking alcohol. All right, so quick message, back to my run. Love you, little buddy. Listen and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, or YouTube.